How's it going, Internet? When I started doing YouTube videos, my original OG channel, which is still up to date, is a Laker Coolman channel. When I was like, 11, 12 years old, and I used to wear my Lakers jersey in like a lot of those early day videos. So very nostalgic for me. It's been a couple months, and while it has not been any for you all, at least on the YouTube side of things, been no content. It doesn't feel like that for me because I've like been recording videos in between that I just have never got to upload or sit down and edit, and that's a lot of what I'm going to be doing today as I record this at the start of August. But I felt like I owe the channel, the community, a bit of a life update because I've been a bit of here and a lot of there, and kind of want to speak to that. I think this all kind of kicks back to the last time I uploaded in April, where the first kind of trip and travel kind of kicked off for me in what was then a domino of trips and travel ever since in these last 4 months. We had a good friend of ours who had planned a birthday party out in New Orleans, in a city that he loves and enjoys, and he wanted to really showcase that to us, a lot of us who had not been there prior. So we went out there, I believe that was April timeframe, to go to New Orleans for a weekend and experience everything that that city has to offer. And such an iconic city, and I, regret to say I've never been there until now, and I'm happy I did, and I would gladly go back. It was a great city filled with like culture and history and a lot of like the music scene and stuff like that. Like I didn't know that the airport was named after Louis Armstrong, but a lot of that stuff that I appreciate, and getting to see like the live music and live bands, to just the city in itself and the culture and history, and most importantly the amazing food and the Cajun influence and all of that stuff that we got to have out there was just amazing. We did swamp tours, which was a thing, and we also got to go, of course, the infamous Bourbon Street. I think we went out there maybe a little bit too much consecutively, day in and day out, but all in all, it was a trip that I will definitely remember and hope that we get to go back again, but it was amplified by being with a great group of friends. So that was really the trip that kicked it all off. And in getting back, I had a couple weeks to recharge before I had to go on yet another trip out to Cabo in Mexico. First time being on the kind of like more resort side of Mexico, but my partner and I were going on a joint bachelorette trip for a friend, a couple of ours, and this was a group trip that was in sheer size. I think there was 25 of us on this trip, maybe a little bit more. Just chaotic, as you can imagine, with that many people for a bachelorette party, especially it being international. Kudos to the couple for planning it all out and everybody involved in those logistics. The villa was amazing. The area resort that we stayed at was amazing. The weather was beautiful while we were out there. It was just a really great overall experience, and we got to do a lot of different activities. But as it is with a group that big, it's also just chaotic dealing with that many people on a bachelor/bachelorette trip. So coming back from that trip was definitely a good time to unwind and recharge the social battery and kind of cleanse myself mentally and physically. But with that, it was short-lived because I feel like I was back from Cabo for a couple weeks, and the next thing I know, I was back on yet another trip, this time unplanned. It was a last-minute trip out to New York for work, and there was some stuff that popped off where I had to kind of go out last minute and figure some stuff out, meet with some clients. But it ultimately ended up aligning because I had already known I wanted to go to New York eventually this year because we were planning on opening up an office out there, really expanding our presence. One of our partners had just recently flown out to kind of get things spun up out there, and a week after that, next thing I know, I'm also flying out to New York. And what I thought would be like a week to a week and a half long trip ending up being a 3-week stint. So it was a lot of hustle and bustle, just kind of dealing with work stuff, getting to meet a lot of clients in the area since our team has expanded and our client presence has expanded, meeting some of the team members who work in the New York area, and then also hiring some new talent while I was out there. So it was just a constant go, go, go experience, and I think a very representative of like New York culture, right? That hustle and bustle vibe. Fun fact, when I was moving to the States and deciding where I wanted to live, it was between California and New York. Like, those were the only two states I could really see myself living in particular the cities, because, like, I wanted that true, like, hustle and bustle experience. And I always feel that anytime I'm out in New York. It's a different culture, different vibe. Here in San Francisco in the Bay Area, there's definitely a different hustle culture out here for like the startup scene. I feel like New York is just constantly on, regardless of like the work culture, just because it's such a popular tourist city and truly is the city that never sleeps. So outside of the work thing, it was a really great opportunity to be out in New York, see a lot of the area. I flew out there for a week, flew over to Chicago a week after because my family was all out there. My sister, who's normally in New York, was visiting my other sister in Chicago because my parents had flown out from Japan. Yeah, all over the place. But very rarely does my family get all together, so it was an opportunity for us to just be all under one roof. I unfortunately missed the last trip back in December because I was sick, so I hadn't seen my family in a long time. I hadn't seen my niece at all since she's been born, and I hadn't seen my nephew in years. So it was a long, much overdue trip for me to get out to Chicago, so I took advantage of being out there to go ahead and do that. And that week was short-lived, right? The week flew by, but it was just a really great time just to be with family, spend time, have some home-cooked meals. Ever since my dad is retired, that's his like new thing. But also just to have, that experience and all of that again is priceless. But after that, it was back to the concrete jungle. Phase 2, flew back to New York to wrap up some last-minute work stuff. Again, see the new space, see the new office, and then wrap up some stuff out there. And then finally make my way back to the Bay Area. I remember the night we got in, because we got in like right around midnight. It's right now apparently like the coldest summer it's ever been in San Francisco, which I could appreciate having coming back from New York and Chicago. And feeling that cold, crisp air when I got out at SFO was a nice experience, and it's always just nice to be home after all that travel. But in coming back from that travel, I've been, settling in and recollecting my thoughts as you do. And I think, like I was telling my partner this, like in coming back from those trips, I think some people, like it can feel sad in the sense of like you go from all these highs to just coming kind of back home and all of that. And I was telling her how, like, for me at least, like in leaving family and that kind of whole experience, like I walk away from the trips not necessarily sad. Obviously, it's always great to be around family, friends, and have these different experiences. But if anything, I walk away from those experiences like very, very grateful for the opportunities that I have, and allows me to take account and stock of where I'm at in life right now, and be able to understand like somewhat of the privilege, and also just seeing my life. I don't like the word manifest in the sense of like speaking into existence, but like truly working for the things and seeing them play out the way I had maybe like at one point in my life hoped, envisioned, and dreamed of. And what I mean by that is like if I take a look at my life in the last 4 months, we've been working extremely hard on the business, and we've been really trying to kind of end the year strong. We had our mid-year almost like a month plus ago, where we flew the team into San Francisco and had the whole team in here to really kind of celebrate the achievements we've had thus far and how we can kind of end the year strong. And seeing how much the business has grown from myself and my co-founder, who was my roommate at one point, where we had the business in our living room, to now having an office in San Francisco, opening an office in New York, and then expanding our presence. You can't help but look back and think like how crazy this is, right? Like until you're in it or until you're experiencing it, it all kind of happens at once, and even then it's still sometimes like you're a little bit in disbelief. But at the same time, like this is everything you've been working towards, and this is why you do what you do. And it's a bit of a reminder of that. I've spent the last 2 decades of my life in some capacity working and putting towards the things that I want in my life, and the kind of a lifestyle I want to afford myself. And it's only in more recent years that I've just been more okay with being unapologetically who I am, and being okay and more okay in allowing myself to like celebrate more of my wins and being more comfortable with that, and taking into stock like those achievements and celebrating them, because I think they deserve to be celebrated. If I look at my life early on, because I had such early success, I attribute a lot of like getting into my early adulthood in terms of like, like people say like the saying of like 20s is like figuring out who you are, and 30s is like hopefully at that point you know who you are, so it's like even more exciting because you're a little bit more established and you know who you want to be. I like to think I got to have the amazing opportunity to figure out very, very early on, before even entering my 20s, of who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do at a high level capacity because I started so young at my work. If anything, in my 20s, I felt like I spent a lot of my early 20s trying to prove externally to others I was that person. That this is what that looks like. And look, don't get me wrong. A lot of my success early on, though it was fueled by I'm going to do this in spite of or in lieu of X, Y, or Z, it definitely helped propel me to where I'm at today, but you can't always use that as your source of motivation or your source of go forward. I think, I had to learn to let go of those things and also let go of the pressure that I put on myself to be at certain places at certain times in my life and just be more comfortable where I was at and what I've done, but not comfortable enough to where I'm satisfied on where I want to be and continue to grow and push myself. Whereas now, like I said, I knew who I wanted to be. I spent my 20s trying to convince the external factors of that. And now in my 30s, I'm just more comfortable at a point where, like, the only person I'm trying to prove that to, or the only person I'm trying to one up at this point is myself. Truly myself. And the things that I do and the things that I want to experience and so on and so forth is to showcase to myself, like, that I can do it. And this is why I put in all the time and the effort. It's because, like, these are all the things that I always envisioned and worked so hard for. So I've been at a phase in my life where I'm more comfortable splurging on myself, putting myself a little bit more forward and first, because I understand that, like, if I don't do that, I can't take care of others and the things around me. I can't be the person I need to be for my business, for my partner, for my family if I don't take care of myself first and foremost. And, like, I've struggled with that in the past, transparently. Like, I've struggled and I've gone back and forth with that, where I've tried to put other things first and then put my own, ambitions or what have you aside. And, like, things suffer because of it, where, like, I'm at a very comfortable place in my life right now where I'm, like, very proud of the achievements I've done. I can look back and be, very grateful for what I've done and learn the lessons and take the lessons of how I got there and use that to propel me forward. I think that in the past, I've been stuck in either one or two of those scenarios where I've spent a lot of time looking forward and understanding I want to be this, I want to achieve that I don't appreciate where I'm at in life currently. I don't, like, take into account that around me and the opportunities and the lifestyle I get to live. I sacrificed a lot of my early adulthood and probably teenage years, transparently, working, time, effort, what have you. And, like, I don't regret that in the sense that if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. If anything, I just wish I took time to pause more and take into account, like, all the other stuff going on around me and all of, like, the great group of friends and people and support structure I had around me a bit more, and, like, just spend a little bit more time in those memories and those moments. In The Office, if you watch The Office, there's that line.
I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them.
I'm more cognizant of that nowadays. And I think that if you look too much forward and you're so fixated on that, you don't get to focus on the now. Inversely, I've also spent too much time in the past and getting stuck in, like, is my last success my last success? Am I going to ever be as good as I used to be? And getting so focused on, like, trying to one up my past self that I never get to the future because I'm so, again, stuck in the past. So I think what I've learned, for me that works anyway, is it is a somewhat of a chaotic balance and cycle and reminder to myself that I need to be able to look back, understand, and remind myself why I got started, why I do what I do. That allows me to be grounded in the present, because I think you can't truthfully look retrospectively if you're not stopping and pausing every now and again. And then that allows me to then propel forward and achieve the things that I want to achieve and be the person I want to be and get all the things done that I want to get in life. And that has been more of the life cycle I've been as of late. And I'm very privileged and I'm very honored and I'm very proud of the achievements that I've got to achieve in the past, that I have in the present, and then I'm working towards in the future. And I'm unapologetic of all those things because I know who I am as a person. I know what I did to get to where I'm at, and I think as long as I'm not harming or hurting anybody, that I should be able to celebrate and honor those achievements. And it's from all the little things and the big experiences to maybe the more material things. And I know I showcase some of those like luxuries on these channels, and it's a part of the content machine, but it's also just a part of like me documenting everything I've worked hard up until this point to be able to do. And I think if I never lose sight of that, and it doesn't become this constant churn of like, you know, for the next thing and for the next thing and for the next thing, I think if I'm always doing that with intentionality, I can't lose. And I'm excited to see where that takes me. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's where we're at. That's life as it is right now. So, thanks for watching.